Hi there. Welcome. It's Karen Friedland here, talking to you live. I'm very excited to be here because we've just survived our first blizzard of the winter, and it's pretty damn cold here in New York. And so I have gotten out, but my studio is nice and warm, so I'm really glad to be here with you. I hope we'll get some people joining us. And today, first I'd like to give you a catch up on what I've been doing. I've got a whole, you know me, I'm always experimenting with something. And last week, in fact, I was doing a lot of work. I thought I'd share with you, doing a lot of work on tiles with alcohol inks. And so I made these great tiles. I'm really excited about this one. And here's one. And here's another one. I just think they came out really cool. This, I don't know if you can tell, it's got gold in it, in the center of some of the circles. It's really hard to do this in reverse when you're not looking. So that's the second one, and I've got a third really cool one. I kind of adore this one. And I hope you like it. It's really cool. So all of them I then sealed and put a lot of coats. There's 12 coats of protector on these and gloss. And then I put little felt feet on the back. So they can be used on a table or as a trivet for warm things, but not hot, because they're finished with plastic and that wouldn't hold up. So you can put them on a table to make it look pretty and put serving platters on it, but you can't use it like a hot trivet for things right out of the oven. So that's what I was doing with alcohol ink. And I really love alcohol ink, and it's a great medium. But we're going away again in February, and I took my alcohol inks with me last year. And let me just show you what they look like. They're cute little bottles. So I took all these cute little bottles with me last year. And if you can see, most of them have unreadable labels because they leaked everywhere. So I ended up putting dots of color on them because, they were just a mystery. It was a surprise at what was inside that. So those are my alcohol inks, but I can't take them with me when I go this year. So I started experimenting with acrylic inks, and I paint with acrylic all the time. And using with that, but not doing it exclusively with acrylic inks. So these are some of the materials I have. This is F&W pearlescent. They have pearlescent and matte finishes in the inks. And here's another brand. This is Liquitex Red Violet. Oh, Deep Violet. Love this color. Use this a lot. And this one's just about empty. This is Rotering Artist Color. And this color I use a lot. And I'm sad that it's just about empty, and we'll have to go and buy some more. But I'll show you what I created with it. I was experimenting just with the inks and alcohol. And so I did this painting. This is a 9x12 painting. And using just the acrylic inks, not the alcohol inks, the acrylic inks. Trying to get it straight for you guys. And alcohol is a solvent. And then I'll show you this one that I am working on. And both of them are done on Yupo paper, which is flexible sheet of plastic, very thin. This happens to be translucent. I don't know if you can see my hand through it, but if you look at the back, you can see the design through it on the back. And it also has this wonderful quality that with the alcohol, I can go in there and lift up a whole section as I did there. So this is a work in progress. So I just figured I'd catch you up on what I've been doing and let you see some of my artwork. And all that is very fun, and I've been having a great time. And so I wanted to keep on engaging you guys with projects from ArtSparks. These are my ArtSparks Creative Project Deck, and they have 31 projects in here, one for every day of the month, and they're meant to inspire you. And so this is what they look like. On one side, there are pictures of my artwork. Whoops, that's the same thing, isn't it? I have more than one deck in here. And on the other side are projects and a reflection question, because I feel that every project should have the opportunity, that everybody should have the opportunity to reflect a little bit on what they've done and to deepen the learning. So hello, Samara and Shayna and Carolyn. Nice to see you. Happy New Year. And Bill Doherty, formerly of Brooklyn. So nice to see you. Thanks for coming, you guys. So I picked out a card today from the ArtSparks that says, pick a colorful photo from a magazine. On scrap paper, make swatches of all the colors, no more than 8, that you find there. Make a composition using those colors. And then it asks, do the 2 pictures create the same feeling? So I thought today I would work in watercolor, which I worked in for many years, but don't use that frequently now. And I just want to show you guys, you can get very inexpensive sets. This set of 24 tubes of Reeves watercolor is probably under $20 for 24 colors. And each tube has a reasonable amount of paint in it. You'll be able to paint for a while. And then I'm going to use watercolor brushes. And watercolor brushes are shorter than acrylic brushes. You can see them better. And they are usually either round, come in a lot of different sizes. Here are 2 rounds. Or flat. And these come in a lot of different sizes also. And they're very handy it's very handy to have more than one size. Also, you can get filberts. Now, a filbert is a paintbrush that's got a curved top to it. And so these are the brushes I'll be using today. I'm also going to use a pencil and maybe an eraser. So those are the supplies that you might want to get if you want to work along with me. And I was looking through a few magazines, Bon Appetit and Art in America and Condé Nast Traveler for years. And Condé Nast, because it's got beautiful shots from everywhere. And I'm going to angle down the camera so you'll be able to see my work table. Less of me, but more of my work table. So Condé Nast Traveler is a great magazine for beautiful photos. And so I was going through it, and I started counting the number of colors in photographs. So this one, for example, it's very interesting because you need to count all the, here, we'll do this one, I think. You need to count all the nuances. So when you have, well, we have this dark color here, this gray, but then you have almost like a black line there. And then in the water, there are 3 shades of colors in the water and a kind of golden color as well, which you wouldn't expect in the water. So that gives us 5 colors we're up to. Then we've got the people who are on little floats of some sort. That's 7 colors. Then the water beyond, which has, I think 3 colors in it. You have to look very closely at your picture to notice all the nuances of colors. So that's 10, I think, colors. And then the colors in the trees, which there are 1 or 2. Oh, and these chases and umbrellas. So that's about 15 colors in this picture. Oh, did we count the sky? That would give us at least 3 more colors. So that would be 18 colors just in this simple picture that looks pretty monochromatic. So it's amazing how many colors you find in a picture. I was looking for one that was very simple that only had a few colors, and came across this one. I thought that will be very easy. Let me turn this so you can see it. I thought, oh, this will be really easy. And then I started counting. So there are 2 colors in her shadow and 2 colors in the cement by the pool. That's 4. 2 colors in her bathing suit. That's 6. Her skin is at least 2 colors. That's 8. Her hat has 3 colors in it because it's got the shadow and the yellow and the band. That's 11. And then the water has 3 colors of the dappled water, and then you add another color for the shadow. So that's 4 colors. So you've got 15 colors in what I thought was basically a 3-color page. But when you start looking at it, you start seeing the color nuances. So I looked around for a while for something that I liked and came up with this wonderful photo of Venice. This, not that one, this one. And this one has about 8, I better change hands, 8 or 9 colors. So you've got 2 colors in the boats. You've got kind of orangey color next to the boats in the water. You've got the brown for the wood. You've got the water further out. And I think we may have 2 colors there. And then the buildings, we've got that kind of red brick color in the buildings. And the blue-gray in the sky, and then the yellow in the sky. So we're about 8 colors in there. And I'm going to lay this down so you can see it, and so I can see it. And I'm going to put some colors out in my palette, which happens to be, I have 2 things that I'm using that are styrofoam cafeteria trays. And I'm going to start putting out my colors that I think are close to this painting. Oh, I forgot the red inside the boats. But there's blue for the boats and red inside of them. There's only a little bit, but it still counts. This tube is giving me a hard time. Okay, we'll have to liquefy that with some water. Soften that up when I get it out. So we have the red there. Let's see what else we have. We have orange over here and kind of in the buildings. So I'm going to put that out. So orange. Then I'm going to put out a brown for that will mix with the orange a bit to get the colors of the wood and the buildings. Then we need some lighter blue for the water. Which I'm going to put over here. And I'm going to need some black or gray to mix in with that to get it the shade that we're looking for. What is this? This is Payne's Gray. That's perfect. Payne's Gray is a very dark gray, but it's not as dark as black. So it'll serve our purpose. And then I think I will use some ochre, which is kind of this is deep yellow. Let's see if we have ochre in this. Ochre, yes. Ochre is kind of a mustard color. And that'll work with some white for our buildings. And I mix those together. We'll come up closer to the color. Let's see, how many colors do I have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But white is really a mixer. I'm not going to count that as our 8th. But it may be. That may be our 8th. So, so now I'm going to get a brush and make some swatches of these colors. Hi, Danielle. How are things in Canada? I bet it's really cold there. So I'm going to do the watercolor by mixing the Payne's Gray and the blue. So we get this kind of blue-gray. We have one of the watercolors, and I'm going to add a little bit more gray to it, and that'll give us a really gray. Maybe I'll make it a little lighter. We don't want to lose the blue in it altogether. So that's kind of that steel blue over here that we have. So we'll do that one. And this is just so we know what colors we're working with in our piece. Then we've got orange. That's pretty much what we need. Then we have the yellow ochre. 4 of our colors. Then we have this red. It really needed some water. It's had a hard life, this red. Okay, we've got some red. I'm gonna keep going on that. Okay. We've got some brilliant blue for the boats. Some brown. Oh, we're going to mix that with the orange. The brown and orange make that nice warm color that's on the wood. And so this is an opportunity to play with learning to mix colors and to observe colors. It's amazing. When I work with color all the time, and when I started counting the colors in these pictures, I was really surprised. So, and then we'll take some white with just a little touch of the ochre, the buildings in the back. So these are our 8 colors that we're working with. And now we're going to create a design. And your design can be anything you like. I'm going to move this out of the way, as well as the Bon Appetit subscription cards. And I think I'm just going to draw a design on my paper, and I'm going to do 7 elements and do a background color, and that'll be my 8th element. And we'll see what kind of design we come up with. Since this is just an exercise, I'm not worrying too much about what I'm doing here. Sometimes the freehand gets some wobbles in it, and I don't usually erase, but I've given myself permission to do that this time. And so I think I'll do a squiggle shape. And we'll have it come out the back of this. Sorry for some of the wobbles. That's because I have a bit of a shake in my hand, but I try my best to ignore it. And let's see. I have 1, 2, 3 elements. What should I do now? I think I need a rectangle right over here. That's going to have a triangle going into it. So that's our rectangle. Whoops. It's a weirdo rectangle. There we go. It's almost a rectangle. And then we'll have another circle over here. Am I at my 7 elements yet? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I got 1 more to go. And I'll do another. Zigzag element there. Okay, we've got 7 elements. And now it's time to paint them. I'm going to work with one of my flat brushes, because I can get a better effect that way. I think I'll start with my yellow ochre and get that in my circle. And if I were really bothered by the extra lines, I could take them out now. I mean, before I started painting. Or I could take them out after I'm done, because the lines will show through watercolor, but it will let you erase them after the piece is completed. So I don't worry too much about the stripiness. There we go. So here's our circle. We've got some blue, so I'm going to get some contrast in there with this blue-gray. And one of the things that students traditionally forget is that you can move the paper around, and it's a lot easier to move the paper than you. And you can do that and save yourself a lot of hassle of cranking your hand around a way that doesn't go naturally or something of that sort. So as I said earlier, this is basically a color exercise. It's not meant to be a gorgeous work of art, which is not to say that you couldn't make this project into a gorgeous work of art. Always have to have my paper towels close by. And we'll get our red going here. So I hope everybody had a wonderful New Year's and had a really good time on the holidays. We did. Shayna and her family were here, but even before that, we had my granddaughter here for 2 days on her own, and we did everything we could to spoil her thoroughly because she is totally our delight. But where does this piece go? It goes over here. One thing when you're painting with watercolor is that you want to try and make it so you're not seeing all the strokes. So you want to keep your paint section that you're working in. You want to keep the paint moist while you're working there, or else you will see the lines of where you started and where you ended. This is not watercolor paper, this is just Bristol board, so it tends to show the lines of the paint more easily than watercolor paper will. But you see, when I go back here, I'm going to get some more obvious lines. It's just that I'm up in my studio, which is on the 3rd floor, and it's beastly hot, even though it's so cold outside, and the paint is drying very quickly. Don't go back in to watercolor with a lot of water because you will get a bloom, and I'll show you what that is. Blossom. Let's see if I can do that on here. I'm getting it a little bit, but maybe over here is better. And you see that, I don't know, can you see that the paint is kind of crawling back? So if I had wanted to go back in with too much water at that point, that's what I would have gotten. I don't mind them, frankly, but a lot of people do. So that's why I forewarn my students. Let's get a little orange in here. Oh no, I'm going to say orange, I think, for our background. I've just decided. And we'll see how that goes. We'll get all the other colors in, and we'll see what orange looks like as our background. So here I go with that beautiful blue that was on the boats. Just the most lush, lovely color. And here I am trying to paint my little mountain ranges, or whatever you want to call these little lumps. And I am not the world's neatest watercolorist, as you can see. I probably should have a different brush. This is what I was saying about it being handy to have other brushes. A round brush is much better for these shapes, and will get in there much better than a flat brush will. as you can see. And so I was saying, I'm not the most meticulous watercolorist. Some people really get very hung up on having a completely flat color section. And that was never really important to me, which is why I never made it as a realistic painter, because those things that you need to have when you're painting realism are not the things that are really particularly important to me as I paint. So you can see colors uneven. I may be able to even that out a little bit, but I'm not real worried about it. So we have our wood color, the orangey brown, to add in. I'm going to make it a little browner because I know that we're going to have orange as our background. And for those of you who are not really familiar with the color wheel, I can tell you that brown is the color that's easiest to get, because when you mix colors that are opposite one another on the color wheel, they turn into brown. And so those colors that do that are red and green. When you mix red and green, they turn brown. When you mix yellow and purple, they'll give you another shade of brown. And when you mix orange and blue, they'll give you a third shade of brown. And of course, depending on the proportions of the colors that you've put in, that will also change it. You know, I'm going to just square off this edge. It's ridiculous to have all these zigzags, and I'm tired of painting them. So if you have a flat brush instead of a round brush, that would have been advisable for this shape, because it would have given you much more fewer strokes and more even strokes. And then you would have had a smoother section there. I don't know if you guys are able to see this. Okay, only two more colors left, and they are this lovely blue that I'm going to do over here. Add a little water to it. It's a little thick. Depending how much water you add to your paint, you can make it lighter or darker. And I've just added a fair amount of water in here. But this is a kind of opaque color. I'm realizing, like the yellow ochre, where the other colors were more transparent. Look at that. I got that zigzag without even trying. Okay, last color now is the off-white. I'm going to add a little ochre to the white to give it a kind of creamy effect. And that'll be our little circle over here. And that is a lovely off-white, isn't it? Looks like if I got that out of the tube, it would be Titan Buff, is what it's called. At least from one of the manufacturers. Each manufacturer seems to have their own name for colors, which makes it fairly confusing. Now I'm going to take I may even take a bigger flat brush, have a large flat brush here. We'll see how it works as we go into the orange for the background. And I'm adding some water to it. Even though it's two paint, it still needs to be liquefied some, so you can get it to a nice paint consistency. And that's what I'm doing here. And oh, I got some splashes on there. Well, I love the look of that. So after we do this, oh dear, look at that. This paint is not going on very smoothly. Sometimes, well, when you have better paper, when you have watercolor paper, which this is not, it will go on more smoothly. But do you see the advantages of a wider brush? You know, in just one stroke, I can cover a lot of area. And here I am turning the paper, turning the page. And trying to get into all the crevices that we have that I created. You can create more or less number of crevices, depending on how you like your work to look. When it starts getting light, go back and get more paint on your brush. It's one of the things that people forget so much of the time. In fact, I had a time where I was working in pastel and I working in watercolor as well, and I asked my watercolor teacher, why can't I get these deep, rich colors that I can get with the pastels? Why can't I get them with my watercolors? And she just looked at me. She said, use more paint. And it was like, oh, yeah, I had forgotten about that. And I still do sometimes. And I see my students frequently do. So when your color starts to run out, go and get more paint. And you see I'm turning this each time so I can get the longest strokes. So I can get the most color on with one stroke, so it will not have start and stop lines nearly as much. Of course, with watercolor, if it gets wet, it will redissolve, which is what you see has happened with the blue over here on the corner of that triangle over there. I don't know if you can see it. I hope you can. And, you know, that's something you can avoid just by being more careful than I'm being right now. Or you can embrace it and say, man, look at that cool effect that I've gotten. So here I've pretty much gotten it covered. I could work on this for days, literally. But I'm going to do, let's see what happens if I add a little splatter to it. A little splatter can always help a work of art. And now it's done. And my question was, did the two pictures create the same feeling? So here's the one I painted. And here's the one from the magazine. So you see the boats. And I think it has a somewhat similar feeling because the blues are small and the oranges and tans are bigger. I think had I used the yellow ochre at the background, it would have had a much similar feeling. But it's interesting to do that comparison. And I want to thank you. Bronwyn, it's so nice to see you. And Rachel, thanks for coming, you guys. So here's the final piece. And it was quick, so you'll have to excuse my places where it's messed up. But I hope I got you looking at colors a little bit more carefully and noticing all the nuances of colors that you see in images. Oops, we can look at me a little bit more. Hi. And so that's the picture for this week. Hi, Martha. And thanks, everybody, for coming. I hope you enjoyed it and learned a little something. And any questions, always feel free anytime you'd like to know more. And I'm going to be posting this on my homepage and probably on the homepage for artist Karen Friedland. And I'll also be putting it on my YouTube page. So you can go and watch it again if you missed something that you'd like to see again. Thanks for coming. It's been great seeing you. Look forward to seeing you again. So long.